Yeah. See, UTIP thing came later on, but if you see in initial part, he was like just maintain this site, and servlets also introduces so well.
Okay.
I mean, he introduces servlets, everything from the basics.
Okay.
Too good. I mean, if you see his courses, see this JavaBrains.io, he has made it as paid.
Oh, really? Okay.
That time I studied everything normally. It was, that time everything was free.
Yeah.
Core Java.
Good explanation of things. I like it.
No, actually, this is not good. Maybe now he's changed. No, actually, he had a very nice on Spring, Hibernate. Then he had a servlets, introduction to servlets.
Also, he made one.
Too good. That's how he started with. In fact, that was no. He removed that. Spring Boot Quick Start is fine. Even this is also good, Spring Boot. But actually, he introduced that very well. I mean, very well in the sense, Spring, Hibernate, servlets. I really liked that time. Now he made it paid. The paid is also fine, but point is, see, Git Basics is yet to start, 0 lessons. Java generics in depth. He's saying pre-order means is yet to come. No, I mean, now I really don't like this thing much. But yeah, at one point I studied from this guy, and the Spring, Hibernate and servlets was too good. I mean, too good in the sense, nice. You get the concept. But point is, you can learn so many things. Now, if you don't know the many things, you will not remember for long.
Yeah.
This thing, actually, my brother works in TCS, and through that access, I got, I'm just showing various stuff which people can learn. Maybe we can discuss this more later. Fahim, is it Hafiz or is it Tahani?
Hafiz. This is Anjali.
No, Anjali is fine. Anjali, I know. Fahim.
Yes, okay. Fahim.
Okay, just two of you. So Fahim is Hafiz, and I don't know. Hafiz, have you practiced the previous videos? Or you don't know how to access them?
Where is Hafiz? It's Fahim.
No, there is a guy. Who is that? Either it is, see, Hamid is usually Tahani. Fahim, I don't know. I think maybe Tahani or Hafiz. Fahim, who is this? Fahim?
I'm Fahim.
Okay, not sure.
Fahim is silent.
He said Fahim.
Okay, what's your name? Are you Hafiz or Tahani? Or are you someone? Sayada Ghazala. Fahim? I think it is Hafiz. Okay, fine. See, point is, you just need to practice, and moreover, just to get a thing. Now, typically in interviews, if you see in data structures, yes, people ask about vector, people ask about hash table, people ask about stack and queue. There is something called message queue. If you don't know what is a queue, what will you answer about a message queue?
Yeah.
This guy is not mentioned, but there is something called queue. So let's discuss more on this data structures. First, let me fill some notes. And this is like some AWS solution architect guide. I got it from online. Orally thing, it is TCS thing. This guy at the end, he has given a lot of design practice, and he has taken a simple application and has improved like how to include ELB and all. He has given a very nice exercise. If you just practice this exercise in AWS console, pretty much very good, you will get an idea like a solution architect. So thing is, now learning is a constant thing. You have to just keep on going. You can't just say, I know this thing, interface gone. No, interface application is different. Inner class is again deep. So now point is in the data structures level. Again, I'll put this one. What are important is enumeration. Enum data type. We have not discussed this kind of thing. I know you, Ilyas, has some idea. Enum, vector. Vector is quite asked in few places. Hash table, at least we should know as a concept. What is hash table? Then there is something called stack and queue. This guy has not explained in tutorial's point, but stack he has explained. There is something called LIFO. stack is LIFO, and Q.
Last in, first out.
Exactly.
First in, first out.
Yes. Hardly anyone joined, man. Where is Nisar? Nishar should join or at least attend these things.
Where is that guy, man? The one from Ahmed. What is that guy's name? I always Ahmed Naeem. You know.
I don't know. That you should only tell me.
He joined on the first day and then he disappeared.
Run later. In fact, Nisar was planning to ask some questions. Yeah, you can see later this thing. See, even today in one of his text chat interview, they asked about gate. See, again, gate means you don't replically ask, what is this thing, that thing. They typically ask you to explain the process. Means how you take it to the feature branch, how you might do the commit. So basically, the typical process of pull request, if you're able to explain to some extent, interviewers, most of the interviewers will be okay. I mean, that's the thing in gate. So only when you practice and when you face in the interview, then you might get an idea. I think you already got an idea. With respect to data structures, let's see a few things. Okay, Hafiz is there. Hafiz?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hafiz?
Yes, sir.
Oh, excellent. See, I remember. Hafiz, you had some trouble in accessing these videos of Java training folder. Were you able to access it now or still no?
Still no.
Not able to?
Yes, not able to.
Let's
What
fix it
problem,
now
sir?
itself.
Okay.
Because today my focus is just to discuss on this basic data structures, not be much on programming, because you have to understand the concept. Okay, just before going to you, Hafiz, let me check with you. Ilyas, I know you have some idea. Anjali, in these 5 things, which ones do you know?
I have heard of enumeration, stack and queue, and a bit of hash table. I'm not so sure about.
Excellent. Let's discuss that. That's more of a thing. So Ilyas, if you have questions, you can ask, but let's Anjali speak, because he also participates very actively like you. And one more guy is Tabish. In DevOps, he participates quite well along with Hashim. Okay. So enumeration, okay, we'll see the syntax, all those stuff now, or maybe you can see it later with this page. What is enumeration, Anjali, according to you?
Okay. Enumeration is like a set of data, like the value will be constant, like we can't change that one.
Okay.
It's like a set of I don't know like how to say a set of data in which the date is an example. The day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah. See, basically that's the concept. Typically in enumeration, the purpose here is, yeah, yes, anyway, gives an example. Yeah, enumeration, the purpose is, I will tell you the practical usage of enumeration. You might not do much in the normal coding, but practical usage is, let's say in a database, you have some values. Let's say you have a choice. You have a restaurant. Typically, what menus we have? Either breakfast menu, lunch menu, dinner menu, or that's pretty much. Then you also have snacks kind of thing. Sometimes you say brunch. I mean, certain items are there only in a specific time called 11 to 1, something like that. So typically you say breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, and that's pretty much. You just keep it in this kind of 4 menus. Now to store this in your actual programming kind of thing, there are many ways. One thing is you say, you create some kind of a dictionary like this breakfast menu, or this one like a 0, 1, 2, 3, something like that you can do. Or you can keep them as actual strings. But during your processing kind of thing, it's always not required you need to process in the string because it might change. Normally in Java, what we do is enumeration. When you say enumeration, internally, implicitly, what it does, you see here days.elements. So basically we'll come to vector. For now, vector you take it like an array, some kind of a list of elements. Vector has a different properties. So see this vector day names, we are creating various days of a week. Similarly, we can have various menus of the hotel, breakfast, brunch, lunch and dinner. Now you are assigning that information to your days, which is an enumeration. What internally happens is, internally the way it remembers is, this is Sunday. Which Sunday? Some Sunday. And the value of Sunday is more like just some value. Actually, what it stores internally, it's something like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of thing. But whenever we check with this actual value of string. So basically, Java system is doing some kind of a storage for us. Means leaving the storage hassles. How it's internally storing, we don't know. But when you use enumeration, we get some kind of a string. Some people say, why I need enumeration? I'll just use a simple string. That is up to you. But this enumeration is a very, very old data structure. You might see some cases here and there. But again, debatable. The purpose of enumeration is, instead of you storing this information like a set or whatever, Java is helping for you. So this one, even if you don't use it, also not a problem, but it has some use. So this is typically the enumeration, and you might not use much. Sorry. I think there is a way to hide. Dock to bottom. Yeah, this is much better. Instead of constant irritating. Yes. Now, what is more important here is vector. See, I'll tell you this pretty much, these data structures are very old. I mean, these are very old and probably introduced and there since Java 1.2. Right now we are using is Java 1.8. There was nothing called Java 1. I think it was there, it was only experimentation. So Java 1.2 means probably some 6 or 7 years ago or much more than that, very old. So you will not see much use, but still you might see some old code with all these data structures. See, there are so many data structures, but I'm talking only about this. With respect to vector, you treat it like an array, but it has certain properties. What properties is? See, this vector is very similar to traditional Java array, except that it can grow as necessary to accommodate new elements. So this is a very good advantage in the sense, if you see a modern data structure like array list, whenever it has to grow to the elements, it almost, let's say the current size is internally, you don't know, 10 elements. The way array list grows is, it will take exactly the new half of elements. Means, let's say the current size is 10, allocated. Now you need to add some more elements. It will automatically allocate 5 because half of the current size. That's how it will expand. Which one? Array list. Whereas vector, it can grow as necessary. So basically, internally, the way vector is stored more like a continuous array, but internally it will make use of some kind of a pointers, which we don't know. So basically, see this, it shrinks and grows automatically when necessary. This is very important point. And if interviewer is asking about what is an vector, this point is not much now, but better to know. This is quite important in the interview point of view because it's very similar to array. Because if you see in this enumeration program, it just looks like an array. You are saying new vector, you are just adding like an array. But internally it has some specific properties. What are the properties? Once you create a vector, it shrinks and grows automatically when necessary. That is a very different thing. It is there since Java 2. You might see vector in some code, but one thing is sure, this is a very popular question, core Java with respect to data structures. In fact, data structures and elections are more from the interview point of view. And collections like array list you might see in the code. Most of the time in the code you will use either hash map or array list. Hash map for a dictionary, key value pair, list of elements you use array list. Right, Elias?
Yeah.
You will see only those two. But in the interview point of view, you need to know a lot of collections.
There is another
Anjali,
way
got
of
some
doing-
idea on this vector? Hafiz, any questions on this vector? At least a concept? Hafiz?
No, no, no. I will read after class.
Okay, Hamza joined. Hamza, are you able to look at the past videos, man?
Yes, Raghu.
So what did you practice?
I
Just
was-
casually I'm asking.
Yeah, I was there on your all the classes. Only one classes was missed. So
Excellent. So
I've
what did
been-
you practice in last 2 days, Hamza?
give me 1 second. I have the code open with me. I practiced basically like the hash set. Similar. I was in the collection because you already said. that you-
Wow. Okay, no need to go to collections. You talk about the past ones, like did you do something on arrays, exceptions?
Yes, yes. I worked
Numbers.
on normal array list. Like you
Very
know,
good.
just-
Yeah,
you
keep
just-
doing, because you never know when what. And by the way, with respect to your call, I don't know when Syed is going to schedule. I don't know. He is asking me, maybe his Indian friend is, I don't know. Bit said you can just ignore, no need to worry. Yeah, as you see, stack and queue. You need to remember this thing, stack and queue. Take it as a more of a concept. Hash table will come, that also. Stack. Hash table, just remember it is there with Java 1.2. We'll discuss more about hash table when we talk about the collections. Stack. See, stack is like your dustbin. Can anyone tell me why did I use the word stack is like your dustbin?
Whatever we throw will be on the top.
Excellent. So basically, these two are very, very excellent data structures, and some of the popular questions not now, maybe even now. If you go to Amazon interviews or Microsoft interviews, implement a stack for us, implement a queue for us, this kind of thing. So basically, stack, as Anjali is saying, and even Elias was saying, queue is like first in, first out. You put something first, it comes out first. Stack is like your dustbin. And practical usage of stack is your functions. Why I'm saying this? Because if you go into more of your computer organization of your code, the way it happens in the functions is, function is like a memory location, just like an element. So what happens? Function code is there. Typically, when you have a function calling another function, without, normally what we say is callback. So what happens here is, in a function, you call another function and it goes like that. So you try to always revisit, so that once you call, let's say I'm writing some main program and I'm calling some another function in Java. Now what has to happen? After the sum is done, some function is done, you have to come back to the main program. So we use stack. A practical usage of stack is your functions. If you go more deep into code organization, everything, you just say functions. Functions, actually functions in actual memory, they use in a stack based way. Even if you see Java, if you write in any program, exceptions, nested exceptions, they all use the same concept of stack. Stack, 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 stack. So it has such a practical use. But when we are learning stack also, your dustbin example is very common because it's very easy for a common person. Queue is like, yeah, all of you know, first in, first out. Means whenever you stand in a queue, you get this. And typically in stack, what operations you have is push and pop. What they mean push and pop is, when you push, you're pushing at some point. When you're popping, popping means remove. Always remove from the top. That's how stack works. Whereas in DQ, normally we say NQ and DQ operations. What it means is, you insert something at the end. Now, whenever you want to take it, you take it from the front. Just like the way you wait in the cinema hall. When you, let's say all of you watch movies, at least before. what do? You go into the queue. So when you go into the queue, you'll be at the last, removing these VIPs, this kind of stuff. Whenever the person has to get a ticket, whatever, it always happens from the front. So, and the practical uses of queue is message passing, which we say message queue. In fact, there is something in Linux called message queue. It's a fundamental thing. And typically in Java, whatever, whenever you want to exchange somewhere, we normally say about something called this Java Message Service API. Many examples are ActiveMQ, all these things. There is something called ZeroMQ. But now more popular, which is not exactly JMS, is Kafka. You might have seen Kafka so many places. I will remove it because it can confuse. So point is, stack and queue are very fundamental operations. You don't need to remember the program for this because it's more of a fundamental stuff. You might not even see anywhere. Hash table is like a dictionary. What it means is a key value pair. Key value pair in the sense you store some information based on a key. For example, now let's give a very practical thing. Now, let's say each of you are in different places. Just to remember how you are organized is what we can say. Let's say Fahim is in Dallas. So, in my dictionary, my keys are strings, locations. So, Dallas, Hafiz is there. Houston, Hamza, Ilyas, and then Prasad are there. So, what it means is like, in my dictionary, there are two keys. One key is Houston location. Other key is Dallas location. But each of the keys, which is strings, has some value. And value can be a string or value can be some other object. So this hash table or dictionary can get so complicated. So this is the thing. Now, even a hash map is very fundamental thing, but hash map I will show probably later because in hash map, there are something called equals and hash code, because how hash map works is very popular interview question, and also you need to know. The way this hash table or this thing works is key value pair, and the way it stores is this is thread synchronized. In fact, this is a very popular question between hash table and hash map. Thread synchronization means you can use in multi-threading hash table very happily. Even though it is such a old structure, still it is a popular thing. And later on, these guys have introduced in Java 5, I think, Java 1.5, concurrent map, etc. That is very good for threading. But if you see a typical hash map, that is not good for threading. So hash table for now, just keep it as a simple dictionary, a key value pair. So this is a quick introduction of data structures. Let's go more deep into collections, and I will introduce something on collections now, but hash map I want to explain more deeply. I mean probably some 10-15 minutes. Why? Because hash map has that much of depth. You can actually get into that much of depth with hash map. Probably I'll show a separate URL and then explain. But any questions till now, Anjali, Ilyas, Hafiz and Hamza, with respect to these data structures as a concept?
Yeah, okay. I think it's
good to go.
Yeah, because these things, you don't need to have any programming knowledge for these data structures, but you need to know conceptually what is what. And some of these are pretty much interview questions. Let's go more deep into collections. And the next class will focus more on hash map, because hash map has certain depth. Internally, you need to understand how it is implemented. Ilyas, do you know how hash map is implemented internally? Ilyas, Hamza, Anjali?
No, man, not much. No, I don't think so. I just know it's a key value.
No, that is not enough. Key value is fine, dictionary, all those things fine. It is not thread safe, but there is something more depth, how it is internally using that clone, whatever. There are certain things.
Pointers? Does it use the pointers?
No, it definitely uses pointers. In fact, I gave the example already, a hash table itself. See, hash table came in Java 1.2, very old. Hash map, etc. came much later, like somewhere in Java 1.5 or something. And they have also introduced some concurrency stuff. We'll go there. So point is, it's not about just pointers. Point is, if you use a dictionary, like the way we are talking about hash table, Each key can have some string as a value. It could be even a list also. The way I gave, for example, for the Houston location, we are 3 people. So it has to maintain like a list, means like an array. It cannot hold like a string. So that is one kind of pointer. That is internally there. But point is, when you have a string, it will not store the key as it is. It will convert into some kind of a hash code, some internal algorithm. So there is some more depth to that. I will cover next class because none of you know that. For now, we'll just get into some collections introduction. So first thing you need to understand the collection is interface, collection interface. See, in collection, all this stuff. So interface is nothing but just like a specification which was in earlier class, means a set of methods to be implemented. So when you say Java collections, all of them at a high level interfaces, but there are some concrete classes which are implementing this interface. That's what we are going to learn: array list, linked list, hash map. Let's talk about this collection interface. And the collections thing alone, if you want, I can even do 2 to 3 classes. Why? Because collections is a very important thing. And any core Java, the moment they say we want to talk about core Java, interview questions will be on the Java collections. And even in Spring Boot or whatever, mostly we'll be using these 2 collections. In Spring Boot, mostly we'll use array list and the hash map. Too much means way too much. Right, Elias? Maybe you are on mute. Okay. So this collections interface, what I have done, I went to first collections interface. This interface is a basic thing which you need to understand to some extent at least. There are certain things in a typical collection interface. Just a minute, I'm going to different room. Yeah, fine. Just checking. Okay. You are cooking? No, right? Done. Yeah. So these guys are given the standard examples. See some of these methods. Let's talk about it. Typically, a collection has add interface, add method. What they mean is you can add an element into the collection. For example, a list. You add some element into the list. Then you can take another collection, which is like some other Java collection, and add all of them. Clear is more like you just remove all the elements. Equals. This we'll see more. Equals and hash code, we'll see more in hash map. It is really powerful, these 2 ones. Then remove is like you just remove the entire object. Find out the size. This size is like, it's like a length of your collection. Then typically most of the collections you can convert them to an array. So this 2 array is pretty much, if you can practice, fine, but these are some of the methods. I mean, this thing you will not remember now, but if you just spend some time with the collections, any collections, you will understand more deeply. Now, let's see some other collections, very standard, very useful. Actually, I like this program because this is very common thing. First, let's talk about the basic collections in Java. What I mean to say is, in the collections, list, set, map. In list, you have array list and linked list. In set, you have so many, but very popular is hash set. In again map, there are so many, very popular is hash map. So what happens here is, the ones on the left hand side are called interface. They just have methods. They don't have anything. Methods. all these classes on the right hand side, they implement the respective interfaces, so they get some specific methods. And all these again interfaces, they are from the collection interface. So now the way to understand or go is, this program is pretty good. Linked list, array list. If you see the program as it is, array list and linked list, you are just adding some elements and then printing it. Adding and printing it. It doesn't look different, but the way they are internally processing is different. Let me talk about it now. So array list, what happens is, array list, it is like an array, but it has certain properties like a class, more like an array. More like an array means continuous memory locations. So what happens is, you have some elements like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In memory, they are just stored adjacent. So when you have adjacent, searching is very fast. Searching is too fast. Searching is very fast. But when you want to insert or delete, you have to parse entire elements to just to enter the some other element. You need to again create a space and then do. Is very slow. Now linked list. This one is actually used. Have anyone used linked list in C language or C++? Any of you?
No.
Fine. This is more powerful and really powerful. This is internally uses pointers to point to next element. That means they are not in continuous location. They use some kind of a pointer. It's all maintained by Java. We don't know. But most of us don't use linked list because we are just accustomed to array list. Most of the code will see array list, but there is a benefit with linked list in certain things. When you have an elements like this, so when you need to search, let's say fifth element, you need to go all the way from first to 5. Whereas in array, since it is in continuous locations, searching is faster. There is something called, if you go subject called computer organization, there is something called associative memory. There you see how searching is faster in a continuous locations. I'm not getting into that OS class, that is possible. So searching is slow, very slow in fact. Whereas insert and delete, fast. Why? Because if you want to insert some element like 10 or whatever, you just need to go to respective element. You create a new element called 10, you just insert a pointer and then put next. So it's all about pointer manipulation, very easy. So insert and delete is very fast. This is a major difference between array list and linked list. In fact, this is also one of the interview questions. What is array list and linked list? If you look at the programming, both look very same, no big difference. See here, this last 4 lines, this 4 lines, no difference. But internally, the way they operate is different, and this is the thing. So until unless if your use case is really about inserting and deleting, normally people don't use linked list. We always use array list by default. Now have you understood the difference between array list and linked list, guys?
Yeah, look okay.
Yeah, who else is there? Hafiz. Hafiz, have you understood about linked list and array list?
Yes, sir.
If not, you can watch this video again. This is the thing with array list. Now, this hatch set. Basically, it comes from the set interface. Now, what is a set? Set is nothing but a list of elements, more like an array, but you maintain always unique elements, means no duplicates. That's the difference between a list and a set. In set, you will not have duplicates. That's the main thing. Now, the way hash set is there, we'll see more internals about hash set later on, because I really want to explain certain specific concepts about hash set. Hash map is just looks like a key value pair. Key value pair. It doesn't have properties of hash table like thread safe kind of thing. It's, if you look at it as a thing, it is more like a dictionary, a key and value, a key and value. Now, if you see this typical output of hash map, I want to mainly see this. a key and value, key and value. As a programming and the collection interface, there is nothing much. I mean, if you just practice it, it's quite easy. Which one the collections typically. You don't need to really go all the collections, all the stuff, because if you get into collections interface, it is very, very deep in the sense, not collections. I mean, yeah, there are hash map, concurrent map. It can go more deep, but I really wanted to focus on these three stuff: list, set, and map. We'll discuss some more time now after it disconnects after 2 minutes. But in next class, we'll focus more deep into hash map and hash set. In fact, the discussion will be more on hash map and hash set. So guys, any questions till now?
No.
See these collections thing, so much of stuffs. This is actually data structures part, this vector thing. But if you just look at this thing, there's so much deep. But no, you don't need all this stuff and you don't use all this stuff. You will normally use hash map, array list, linked list also very rare, hash set also very rare. But again, there are differences. What is hash set? What is linked hash set? What is tree set? No, you don't need to go again too deep. But I want to stress more on hash map and hash set. Properties is again obsolete, so we don't need to go there. Okay, now once we reconnect, I think we still have time. Let me spend some time on a practical hash map and hash set question, because internals is very important. Let's spend some time on that. So let's disconnect and reconnect now. You can just join back. Okay, guys.
Yes, Raghu.
Anjali, so far any questions on these collections and data structures? Because today it has been more of theory.
No, I'm good.
But
Okay.
these are all practical concepts. You can just practice that program. I'm just not running it, but I'm just explaining the program. Because linked list and these things, program-wise, not a big deal. Now I just did a simple Google search of hash map internals. See, there are few things. Based on my history, probably I got Geeks for Geeks, Java Revisited, and Java T-Point. Java T-Point is very basic, so I'll just ignore it. Geeks for Geeks also, they explained quite well, hash map internals. This is my favorite. This guy name is, I think, Jay Patel or someone. I don't know whether he's in India or USA. This guy traditionally used some block called Java 67. Then he also used Java Revisited. Pretty much certain stuff he explains so deeply as much as possible. Now, with respect to hash map internals, I want to discuss very few things. Now, from this program, if you see, hash map. Hash map is just like a key value pair a dictionary, correct? That's what it looks like. And hash map belongs to map interface. You can declare like this, map M1 or whatever equal to, you're creating an object which is of this specific class, which is hash. And then you can use this object like a hash map. You can use it to store the elements. This is the thing, but no, this is not it. It has a lot of internal stuff. Let me explain a few things, some concepts here. In collections interface, you might have seen this thing. I just did not go much. Collections interface, where is it? Yeah, in the collections interface, I want to go this one specifically, collections interface. If you see, there is a default method called hash code, returns the hash code for the invoking collection. So what happens is, this hash code, typically the hash map or this kind of thing, even hash set has a hash code, they call this method. So basically what we are doing is, see this word, on a key object and it applies to returned hash code into its own hashing function to find a bucket. Maybe this might be confusing, but if you see the depth of it, which one hash code, the way it works, internally, your key can be an integer, a string, or it can be any object. So irrespective of your any object, what hash code does is, it has some algorithm. It creates some specific code. You understand the general concept of hashing, guys? Anyone? Anjali? Since you're reading computer science, do you know what is hashing? Concept of hashing?
We'll try to access data which is stored in a container.
No.
The method
You know what is hashing means? Hash, H-A-S-H. Okay, fine.
The slash.
No, leave it. No, I think you don't know. Fine. See, if you studied
Okay,
something called computer security, whatever, there is something called encryption and hashing. Encryption means you completely take a code and then encrypt it. Hashing is all about, there is popular hashing algorithms called MD5 SHA. What hashing means is, let's say you have this much of a big string something. It's like you assign some numeric key like 2 or whatever for all the numbers, and then you use some letter called A for everything. That means the moment you see some kind of a combination of letters and characters, you will get something. This is called a hash code or hash digest. What it means is, it's like a one-way thing. You give any information, then 99% or 99.99% for both the information, hash code or hash digest will not be same. But there is a chance they can be same, like a 1 in million probability, whatever. So hashing is all about you minimize it. Where do you use hashing? Whenever you download some file from internet, typically you will say MD5 checksum, because that is MD5 is a kind of a hashing. I will remove it. Hash digest or whatever. What it means is, it is up to you to verify. So that you are downloading a file, and while downloading the file, let's say the MD5 checksum, instead of being 10 characters, it's been only 9 characters. Then you can say that somewhere my content is not downloaded completely. This is called hashing based check. That's the reason you see MD5 checksum to compare it. I think you might have not realized why this MD5 checksum is given for certain files. Typically in file download, let's say I will show you. Sometimes this Google search, we don't get what we want. Let me say Jenkins download, or maybe Putty download. Signature. This GPG is even more advanced thing, but if you read, then it will get confused. Okay, point is, sometimes that files to be downloaded will have MD5 checksum. The purpose is, once you download, you can compare. That actually is the principle of hashing. So now the same principles these guys have used in this hash code. So how it works is, typically whatever the key you have, doesn't matter, you will have some unique thing. There might be some collision inside. Collision inside in the sense, let's say you're using 2 different objects, but there is some same hash code. There comes, you say, collision. So in this kind of collision, you again need to maintain like a list, just as in our case of example of location based like Houston. So hash map internally has these 2 main functions, hash code and equals. Hash code is all about, you have a, whatever the object you have like a key, you take the hash code of it and store. Because if you want to store the actual object, it could be list or whatever, it will be too much of storing the memory, too much of memory usage. The moment you see this function called hash code, that's how internally works. Then equals method. Typically equals means equal to operator, which you know. But when you're dealing with various operations or various objects, which does not work with a simple equal to, in a Java, let's say you have two objects. Some, string, not string, some object. Object A equal to some new, let's say new means you're just initiating new map, and then object B is some new list, or let's say new map only. Actually, Java has pointers, but you don't know. See, this hash code and equals for a beginner, it's way too much. If you don't understand hash code and equals, you can just ignore. I'm talking so that there are some advanced people as well, like Anjali, Ilyas, and Nisar might join later on. So it is very useful in an interview point of view. Now, if you say typically A equal to B, let me put this. Actually, what's happening is those two objects, they're not actually equal. Why? Because A and B, they're more like a pointers. So they have different addresses. That's the reason normally in all the objects, you have a method called equals. So when you do A dot equals, even for a string, when you do this kind of equals, that means you're really doing the equality check. Same way in the hash map, this equals comes into the picture. Means whenever you have your own custom object, this equals comes into the picture. So you need to understand as much as possible about this hash code and equals with respect to hash map. See, okay, Geeks for Geeks probably is good. Hashing concept is explained. If you don't understand hashing of what I said, you can look back into it and you can ask me again. Hashing is all about reducing your footprint of the object. With respect to equals method, now when you normally do A equal to B, that will not work in the object case. You have to do A dot equals B. Then only it works with respect to the equal method. So this, in this case, with respect to hash map, what equals does is, you actually compare the key of one object with the key of another object. See, now you got a hash code, means some internal code. So that's how you say whether they are equal or not. So this hash code internally works like a memory location. And you actually use hash code as well as equals method. So it stores internally like this, and a hash map can have a null key. Means if you don't have any key, it can still have some kind of a list. So these three things, when you say hash map, let me put this URL. So internally in a hash map, we need to remember hash code function from hashing concept. There is a equals method for comparing your keys, and not same as operator, this operator, like we have plus equal to. So it is not same as this operator. This equals method actually compares your keys. In your say keys means two different objects. So that's how hash map understands whether it is same or not. So these are the main things you have. Then there is something called collision. Collision of hashing. You maintained is internal list. So basically a hash map also has something called list internally. You maintain a list. Have any of you understood this hash map thing right now out of you three? I mean internals of hash map. Anjali, have you understood?
Kind of, not completely, but I got the idea.
Even if you don't understand, also fine. But yeah, because in interview, if they say, can you explain me the working of hash map? they expect you to talk about hash map and hash code function equals method. And you explain about the hashing. So basically they expect these three things. So you can just follow this page, which they're explaining about hashing concept, hash code method, as well as equals method.
Okay.
So bucket is again a very deep concept, the number of buckets that you can forget. Hash code and equals method is very important when they talk about internals of hash map. And the same hash code method is used in another data structure called hash set. But this is enough. Even in hash set, hash code method has similar functionality as hash map. See, if you see as a coding for this hash set, they don't look much different. It's just like you add elements. If there is any duplicates, it will remove. So it looks same as a list, but internally the way it stores has a lot of meaning of that hash code. So that's the thing. So this class with respect to hash code might look very intense. You can go back and you can ask me anytime. And next we will see multi-threading in next class. With respect to multi-threading, my point is not go very deep. Introduce the threading. Typical interview questions is about what is thread, what is runnable, what is callable kind of thing. I will touch on those aspects. So for today's thing exercise, you can just practice the collection interfaces, any programs. List, map, set. Okay, any other questions, guys? Hello?
No.
No, Raghu.
Now what I'm going to do, this guy Hafiz is having a trouble to watch the videos of the Google Drive. I know it's a very, very simple thing. So for others, you can leave and I will have this session mainly for Hafiz. If you want to still stay, that is also fine. So now Hafiz, I will make you the presenter so that you can share your screen.
Okay.
So I'm making you presenter. So share your screen. Yeah, you are the host, you can share your screen. Yeah, now show me what is the problem you're having in that Google Drive. You're sharing your screen.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Video is not.
What happened?
How I open this video?
Just click on it. Let's see whether it works or not.
Where? Download or which one?
No, wait. Wait, let me take the control. You give me the control. Yeah, now I can access. Which browser is this?
Any all video.
No. My question is, which browser is this?
Google.
Okay, go to that Google Drive again. Google Chrome. It's not Google. Google is not a browser. Chrome. It's Google Chrome. Okay.
Google Chrome.
If it is Google Chrome, you should not have an issue. Wait. Is it really Google Chrome? Yes, it is Google Chrome. Normally, you just click on it, it just opens. Let's try this thing, video player for Google Drive. Yeah, let's come and say hello. Please disable ad block. We need to remove for this. I'm just taking this video. I'm just selecting this.
Okay.
Please disable the ad block. Okay, let's disable it. Oh, no. Disabled. Now let's try this video player because already we have authenticated. Still saying disable ufiles.herokuapp.com. Okay, let's whitelist. ufiles.herokuapp.com. Now it should not be a problem. I'm just selecting some video. Okay, now you can play. You can see, right? Can you hear the voice now yourself? Hafiz?
Yes.
Okay, good. So how you can play? You just click on this. No need to download. You just click on your connected apps, which is video player in your case. Then whatever the file you want, it will automatically download. It will play for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine. Now now I'm just ending the session. You can. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.